Hello, my name is Bianca Lee, and I will be reading my first article for my ePortfolio, and I will be reading off of my laptop screen, so I will say the numbers or the page numbers after I'm finished with the page. And I will also be not looking at the camera whenever I read. So, the title of my article is The Choice of a Progressive Bilingual Education Model by Lee Zellin. And here we go. Looking at the state of implementation of bilingual education around the world, due to different national conditions, each country takes a different direction in their bilingual education models. In the 1970s, William Mackey created 90 categories of bilingual education models. And in the 1990s, Colin Baker came up with a list of weak and strong bilingual education models. Weak bilingual education includes the submersion bilingual education model, segregationist language education model, transitional bilingual education model, foreign language education as mainstream bilingual education model, and separatist minority language education model. Strong bilingual education includes the immersion bilingual education model, maintenance and heritage language bilingual education model, two-way immersion model, and mainstream bilingual education model. These two types of bilingual models essentially incorporate the basic types of bilingual education models around the world today. Some critics believe that the main objective of weak bilingual education models is to facilitate students in quickly acquiring the target language, continually improving their target language levels, and gradually having the target language replace the student's mother tongue. And it is actually a kind of single language education, while strong bilingual education models aim to preserve or increase the student's abilities in both languages and cultivate students' talent in both languages and cultures. Some even believe that the strong bilingual education models of various countries around the world are a necessary choice in China's experiment with bilingual education. So that was page 25. Now I'm on 26. Taking bilingual education in Xinjiang, China as an example, currently the two main models in bilingual education are Model 1, elementary school Chinese, math, science, and information technology, middle school Chinese, foreign language, math, physics, chemistry, biology, and information technology, high school Chinese, foreign language, math, physics, chemistry, biology, information technology, and general technology using classroom instruction in the national common language, and other classes are taught in the minority language. So Model 2 is all courses are taught in the national common language and a minority language education model is established. For schools that there are no instructor conditions, physical education, music, and art can be taught in the minority language. This bilingual model is also a bilingual model often used in China today. Clearly, the social features of multiple races, ethnic groups, and languages determine cultural diversity and also determine the complex and arduous nature of bilingual education. Seeing through historical development, all countries of the world have continually been troubled by the contradiction and conflict between diversity and uniformity in their choice of bilingual models, and the choice of bilingual education model has become a focus and point of difficulty in various world countries developing their national education. There is great value in learning from others. Looking at the history of choosing bilingual models, countries such as the United States, Canada, Singapore, Luxembourg, Australia, Finland, and Japan have also faced similar problems. However, no country's choice of any model of bilingual education has avoided contradictions and conflicts arising from language. The worry of minority groups is that weak bilingual education models have the danger of ethnic assimilation, and the state's worry is that strong bilingual education models may lead to minority separation. Each stance has a different viewpoint, but each has a certain theoretical foundation and factual basis. Nevertheless, they have exactly the same recognition of the necessity and importance of bilingual education. And on the foundation of this consensus, we must change our ways of thinking and encourage all citizens to choose different bilingual education models on the foundation of their ethnic and national identity and based on their actual local and individual situation. Mother tongue expression and value presentation based on life. Language truly records the cultural trajectory and customs of ethnic groups. It is not only a kind of cultural status and a method of thinking, but also a thread that connects with history, upholds the present, and moves towards the future. The history of development of hundreds and thousands of years of our minority compatriots shows that there is an inseparable relationship between language formation and productive life, cultural customs, religious rituals, and labor characteristics. This language formation not only transmits linguistic and semantic expression. What is most important is that language represents the cultural and particular significance which is unique to the ethnic group. Through the language transmission and cultural immersion of the lived experiences and lessons taught by their ancestors, minorities living in their own land form language identity habits and methods of thinking through common usage. Life-based language practice is rooted in everyday life and exists in the process of interactions, exchanges, and integration in life. This life-based language formation process creates the foundation for natural soil and meaning construction and creates a possibility for seizing on, focusing on, and screening information for language acquisition. Now I'm on page 27. This information is recounted and repeatedly appears in the practice of the productive life of the group that uses the mother tongue. For example, in ethnic music, dance, fashion, architecture, religion, customs, and rituals, and this language cognition is not dominated by rational formation in operation, but rather it's a result of a method guided by something resembling latent ability and continual construction of meaning. The construction of linguistic meaning is a result of school education and linguistic information contained in classes, teaching materials, culture, environment, knowledge, and experience forms construction possibilities for students to grasp their ethnic language, semantics, and values. Therefore, if we say that living language practice lays a foundation for students to construct universal everyday life, then school education creates the conditions for students to construct scientific life based on mother tongue acquisition, facilitating different ethnic groups to create the possibility of forming scientific knowledge and cultural lines being unique to their ethnic group based on constructing their own language, text, and values. Obviously, mother tongue expression based on meaning construction not only constructs interpersonal relations between children and their elders, associates, friends, family, and related interest groups, it also forms and transmits religious rituals, scientific knowledge, and cultural customs formed through habit, creating cultural outlooks unique to the ethnic group, and forming unique values and action models. Second language learning based on mother tongue acquisition and cultural conflicts. Mother tongues construct ethnic, cultural, and semantic systems and form cultural understandings and value views unique to ethnic groups. Mother tongue-based second language study is inseparable from the impact of many factors, from children's processes of mother tongue acquisition, including grasping concepts, attaining knowledge, forming cognition, and determining views. This is necessarily related to family education, religious customs, social immersion, and cultural acculturation in early childhood life. Therefore, when there is contact with the language and culture of a different ethnic group, it will necessarily generate problems of cultural understanding and identification. Mother tongue based on language acquisition forms a unique understanding and identification of the minority towards its own ethnic culture. The natural nature of this kind of cultural understanding and identification is full of attachment to the homeland and care for one's own ethnic culture. Second language study as a cultural carrier is necessarily rooted in mother tongue based cultural understanding and identification and generates recognition of differences with other ethnic groups and cultures. Minority compatriots both accept to immerse themselves in mainstream society through second language learning and also worry about forceful immersion in the second language, as it will damage the roots of their mother tongue and knowledge and culture systems constructed in their mother tongue. Therefore, they are stuck in a complex and conflicted psychological state between mother tongue acquisition, cultural protection, and second language learning. All right, now I'm on page 28. Mother tongue-based second language learning has internal migration rules. The bilingual education mutual reliance theory model advocated by Jim Cummins believes that the development of a mother tongue generates a positive influence on second language attainment. Second language study is carried by linguistic information symbols and has unique function and role as tools for interaction and personal interactions and exchanges. But in the domain of using one's mother tongue as a background for life and practice, it cannot possibly harm the language system. Of course, if a mother tongue is not sufficiently developed, or one directly loses one's ethnic language attainment and directly chooses to study a second language, the development of the ethnic language and semantic system will necessarily face a crisis. Therefore, in the course of mother tongue and second language attainment, they are not binary opposites such as fire and water, but rather are one aspect of cultural adaptation. For mother tongue-based second language attainment, the greater the degree of cultural adaptation, the greater the motivation for learning the second language, and the fewer the conflicts between the two cultures. Therefore, the problem of conflicts with ethnic language attainment brought about by second language learning can be finally attributed to the problem of choosing and adapting to a culture. To avoid cultural conflicts, one must necessarily start with a cultural adaptation. To adapt to a different culture, one must necessarily learn a different language and understand a different culture. Code switching intermediated by meaning migration. Language is the base mechanism of thought, cultural transmission, and self-regulation. It can essentially improve the level of intellectual functions and social interactions, provide the path to attain language and change cultural views. This can be divided into social speech, egocentric speech, and inner speech. In human development, all high-level psychological functions first appeared for collective activities and social activities, and second appear for individual activities and internal methods of thought. This shows that on the one hand, psychological development is generated in people's cooperative activities and human interaction, and on the other hand, is a process of an internalization function from the external to internal. Minority children have already attained relevant linguistic knowledge and techniques based on their mother tongue in the process of early production and life, and have formed inherent recognition and understanding of relevant knowledge. When related linguistic and semantic symbols appear in the process of second language learning, they will consciously construct corresponding meanings based on their mother language. This is no longer a self-construction of a meaning, but rather is a process of social construction. Such construction is an interpersonal interaction strategy between individuals, advanced linguistic knowledge and proficiency level based on the mother tongue language family. This is an important foundation for constructing a second language attainment and also a necessary issue in second language exchanges and interactions. Mother tongue learning establishes a foundation for second language learning. On the surface, these are two different kinds of language learning. They are actually manifestations in the process of attaining two languages, and hidden beneath the icebergs are the common portions of mother tongue-based knowledge and understanding. This is the core and key, now I'm on page 29, This is the core and key to forming linguistic and semantic understanding and also the basis for migration of second language study based on mother tongue semantic understanding.
Second language study needs to be based on mother tongue learning and understanding to better understand semantic expression in a language, and allows references to be found for understanding of second language sayings, grammar, vocabulary, and semantics, allows for recognition breakthroughs to be found, and eliminates barriers in language learning. Based on the dual iceberg theory, the development of human thought is restricted by language mediation. Thought is developed together with language, and the evolution of individual concepts is determined by the experiences of individuals in language, and advanced psychological functions are generated in social interactions between individual psychologies. In the process of forming individual concepts, it reveals the difference between formal logic concepts and genuine dialectical logic concepts, which is the problem of differentiating between everyday concepts and scientific concepts. From this, we can see that the foundation of knowledge is linguistic knowledge, conventions, and rules, and language is a kind of social construct. Whether it is the construction of objective knowledge or reconstruction of subjective knowledge, individuals can all make use of their own subjective agency. The formation of new knowledge first originates in the subjective construction of new knowledge. This is based on new knowledge generated by individual subjective constructions that is characterized by mediation through symbols, and objective knowledge formed through the reconstructions of others is based on new knowledge generated from symbols mediated by languages and forms in internalization process of subjective knowledge. Choosing a bilingual education model based on meaning construction. The problem of semantic understanding based on the language acquisition process that chooses the mother tongue as a foundation is rooted in the results of early childhood family life and education, and constructs corresponding meaning logic. This causes children entering school age to, now I'm on page 30, to have a scientific basis of language acquisition in their language learning and selection. The best method for protecting language and driving language development is using it in education or other fields. The Chinese nation comprises 56 ethnic groups, and all of the ethnic groups are inseparable from one another. That is, the Han are inseparable from minorities, and minorities are inseparable from the Han, and minorities are inseparable from one another. This amply demonstrates that the close relationship of all ethnic groups that pass through thick and thin together and help each other out. In the greater background of this unified, diverse Chinese nation, which is mutually inseparable, minority compatriots who grow up in this land undergo dual construction in their family life and local social life based on the process of constructing mother tongue meaning. They gradually form recognition and understanding of knowledge in the subjective world and internalize it as their own belief, as their own values. Before and after children begin school, they're surrounded by two types of language models constructed at home and school, and they necessarily face many difficulties and challenges. The mother tongue learning model centered on the home is a non-standardized form of education. Children's language attainment is subject to the mutual impact of living environment and family interpersonal interactions on language expression and semantic understanding, and gradually forms cognitive concepts and ideologies in the areas of religion, culture, ritual, customs, behaviors, habits, food, and fashion. Their linguistic foundations are all deeply influenced by their mother tongue, and their recognition and understanding of things is based on the mother tongue as a result of internalizing mediating linguistic symbols. This easily forms unique ethnic psychology and ethnic self-identification, and forms particular layers of cultural protection. The school-centered bilingual learning model is a standardized form of school education. Children's language attainment is mainly manifested through national courses that are more standard than oral language, more formal academic language, and symbol mediation, and it is a result based on student-teacher and companion interactions and internalization. Most importantly, course content created based on national talent cultivation standards and requirements must discard children's home-centered constructed meanings and formed understandings and will easily lead to a sense of identity crisis for minority children. Now I am on page 31, which is the last page. Regarding language attainment, language learning in these two different areas and environments necessarily forms language abrasion and loss. Schools should establish solid reading and writing abilities and knowledge foundations on the basis of students' existing language. Mother tongues can serve as support points for students to form cognition and thinking language, and meanings attained in the mother tongue migrate to a second language learning and restore the scattered, partial, blurry cognition and understanding in the second language acquisition process to prevent students from not adapting to cultural interruption, when starting school. The home-centered mother tongue learning model creates the cognition foundation and conditions for the school-centered bilingual learning model. Also, based on the rules of language learning and childhood learning psychology, bilingual education necessarily undergoes a progressive linguistic transformation and cultural adaptation. And this process is a communal model in which you and I exist within each other. Looking at thought construction based on the dual iceberg theory, the precondition and foundation of second language learning is a good mother tongue foundation. This also means that second language learning based on mother tongue learning can pass on the culture, customs, religion, and rituals unique to the ethnic groups in early childhood, and can also allow for grasping relevant knowledge and experience. School-centered second language learning is necessarily inseparable from students understanding their mother tongue, and not understanding meanings in their mother tongue will cause students to have a hard time effectively studying a second language. The choice of this kind of progressive bilingual education model based on ethnic development of an unconstructed ethnic academic subject system is aimed at protecting the ethnic culture and more quickly improving the quality of development of the ethnic groups, educational causes, and talent cultivation. On the whole, the purpose of education is not to acquire knowledge and techniques, but rather to cause people to acquire a method of thinking in the process of receiving their education, and learn how to think and choose, giving them values and beliefs. A diverse cultural background requires a progressive bilingual model to gradually form dual language abilities, from preschool education to primary education and then to secondary education, so that students acquire a second language on the basis of carrying on their ethnic language and culture. This conforms to not only the features of student language learning, but also the rules of student cognition. And that's all.